All right. Thank you. Yeah.
Hello, hello, welcome everyone. Welcome back, everyone, to our live 3-day online World Teachers Day conference. Ayabo, could you please start your camera? Those of you who joined us this morning or over the last 2 days know that we have an incredible, diverse program of speakers from all around the world. And our theme this year is Global Voices, Future Focus. So these afternoon sessions focus on vocabulary games and speaking activities. So if you are joining us on Zoom, welcome. And please come in and tell us in the chat where you're actually joining us from. If you are joining us on Facebook, welcome. And please say hello in the chat there as well. So our first session this afternoon is about problem solving through vocabulary games with Ayabo Akintola. Hi, Ayabo. How are you? Thanks for being here
Hello,
today.
see you. I'm
Good to
happy to
have
be
you.
here.
Awesome, awesome. So before
Thank
I
you,
actually
Steve.
hand over to you, before I actually hand over to you, I'd like to just tell our audience, our wonderful audience, about a little bit more about you. And now I started. So Ayabo is a teacher and a secondary teacher and a teacher educator from Nigeria. She's got over 20 years experience in education, and her goal is to impact her community. So Ayabo has presented in seminars and online events both locally, regionally in Sub-Saharan Africa, but also globally. So she's a member of ELTAN as well, which is the English Language Teacher Associations of Nigeria, and she's a former mentee of Africa ELTA. So let's get started now. I'll hand over now to you, Ayabo, and I'll be back at the end of the Q&A. So if you want me to move the slide, just let me know. I'll move the slides for you.
All right.
So over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much from all over the world. I'm happy to be here. The title of my presentation is Problem Solving Through Vocabulary Games. And I'm so excited to be doing this. Teaching over the years, I discovered my learners are finding my vocabulary classes boring. So I started wondering, what could I do to help them learn vocabularies in a fun way, in a better way? So I started exploring different means of making the class more interesting. I always find myself just writing the words on the board and their meaning. And the time I discovered that's not working, it's getting boring, and I need to step up my game. So from there, I started looking around for what to do. And hula, this came up that I could bring in games into my classroom to teach them vocabularies. And knowing very well that my learners, children all over the world, love playing games. So this could be a very interesting way to bring in, learn more vocabularies in my classroom. So I'm here to give you some practical tips that I've practiced and some that I've learned about using vocabulary games to help our learners even develop problem-solving skills. So this will really help your learners as you join me and we move on into this practical session. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. Steve, can I have the next slide? Could you please share 2 words to describe how you teach vocabulary? I would love to have your responses. We're going to learn together. We are all going to do this thing. It's a program, it's a presentation. We are all teachers. We're going to learn from each other. You will learn from me. I will also learn from you. Beautiful. Eliciting. Wow, I'm getting beautiful flashcards, games. Wonderful. Thank you. Hangman, pictures. Realia, beautiful. Quizzes. Kahoot, wonderful responses from my participants. Beautiful. I'm happy you are giving me such wonderful ideas through games and contests, flashcards. Wonderful. That's beautiful. Puzzle. Great. Brainstorming. Wonderful. Wow, this is a whole lot of beautiful ideas coming from you. Wow, thank you from Ethiopia. Leads, flashcard songs. Wow, that's wonderful. Bingo, wow. Bogle, that's fine. Wow, I'm really enjoying this. Thank you for your responses. Wow, that's beautiful. Body language, wow, that's interesting. Wow, Padlet, great. Mystery bag, wow. Storytelling, wow. Comments, wow. Games, flashcard, chess, wow, this is just beautiful. I love your reading. Wow, this is wonderful. Thank you so much. Word War, TPR, images, Scrabble, wonderful. Thank you. I love all these responses coming from everyone. Describing pictures, word war, mind mapping, beautiful. Word detective, this is just great. Realia, audiovisual, beautiful. Thank you so much. Educational activities, carved potato. Wow, that's strange. I've never had that before. Wow, thank you for bringing that up. Beautiful gestures, crossword puzzles, Canva, PPT, wonderful word puzzle. Wow, this a whole lot of ideas coming from all of you. I'm so happy. Thank you. Role play. Wow, that's beautiful. Pictionary, wonderful. We're going to learn from each other this afternoon. Wow, mind mapping. Thank you. I know I have great audience in the house this afternoon. Thank you. My audience, a beautiful audience, and I can see it all over you. Netflix, wonderful. Wow. I can see that all the ideas coming from all of you span across different contexts. You know, some of us are from low context where we don't have access to internet facilities, while some of us have internet facilities, so we can make use of Padlet, we can make use of some other things that are connected to network connectivity. Well, some of us said we can also activity, we can make use of all this. I'm so happy with all your responses. This beautiful. Thank you from all over the world. I love your responses. I have attentive audience, attentive participants. Thank you so much. I'm so happy. Thank you. Now let's move on, Steve, to the next slide. The next slide. Thank you. Thank you from all over the places. Thank you so much. Session. Well, I teach secondary school students between the age of 13 to 17. I basically prepare them for a year ahead of their external examination for leaving secondary school. Now, the objective of this session is to use vocabulary games to develop problem-solving skills in learners. Then also, you will discover games and tasks to teach vocabulary in your classroom. Also, you'll be able to engage students in exciting vocabulary games and tasks to drive learners' acquisition of words. You also stand the opportunity to learn to develop learners' motivation in self-discovery of vocabulary games. Thank you so much. We are going to be achieving this at the end of the session as we move on. Thank you. Let's go to the next slide. Now, I just want to know more about you, my audience. I want to know the level of your class, the level of the class of your learners. Who do you teach? I want to get to know you more. Grade 2, wow. Grade 11, Montessori, beautiful. High school, university, wonderful. Secondary school, primary school, intermediate, preschool. So I can see lots of teachers from different levels, lower school, high school, wonderful. Wow, wow, wow. I can see that I have almost all the level of education on the platform this afternoon. Thank you all. Well, we're going to learn a lot that we can modify at our different levels. The things that we're going to learn today, we can use it to teach our students across all levels. We can just modify it and become innovative in our teaching. So as we learn, though from my own context, I'm going to be teaching you how to use some of these games in your classroom, but you can modify it, you can be innovative and use them in your various contexts and level of classes. Thank you. Now, could you please share some activities you use in your classroom to teach vocabulary? Activities you have used before in the classroom. Could you please share them? I want to see some of the activities you have used as a person in the classroom to teach vocabulary. Word games. Okay, it's like we're having flashcards. Beautiful. Thank you. Stories. Wow, that's interesting. Word search, word list, guessing memory game, charades, brainstorming. Wow, quiz, wonderful songs. That's interesting. We're going to learn more about that. Word maps, flashback, dictionary. That's the father of all vocabulary games. Mystery poem, Pictionary. Wow, thank you so much. Well, I can see that my audience are into this. They want to know more poems. Wow, that's beautiful. I can actually use poem to teach vocabulary. Wow, I've learned something new from you. Thank you, gamification, spellings, rhyming words, beautiful. Songs, wow. Thank you so much for your responses. I'm happy. Thank you, charades. Thank you so much. Gamification, thank you. Puppets, theater storytelling. Wow, that's interesting. Toys, wow, that would do for kindergartens. Wow, beautiful. That's interesting. Wow, what's missing? Poem. Oh, thank you so much. Board games. Thank you. Visual aids, primary school, use of dictionary. These are lovely responses. Wow, these are beautiful responses. Thank you so much. I'm happy to get all these new ideas from your end. Thank you so much. The next slide, please, Steve. McCallum, 1998, says that games automatically stimulate students' interest. A properly introduced game can be one of the highest motivation techniques. So here we can see McCallum telling us that games can help us stimulate our students' interest. And I'll tell you, it's helped my students to become more interested in vocabulary development classes whenever I bring up games to teach them vocabularies. So we're going to learn more how to help stimulate our students' interest, according to McCallum in 1998. Learners can improve their understanding of written
It looks like we lost Ayabo. I guess this is linked with connectivity issues. So I'll be interested actually to see from our audience today, what do you think about these codes? Okay, awesome. All right, please go ahead then. Yes, please carry on.
Thank you, Steve. I just got logged out. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Thank you. Learners can improve their understanding of written and spoken English via games. Games can help learners learn word and structures in a context using correct pronunciation and spelling. So through games, we can actually help our learners to improve their written and spoken English, and they can get to learn new words, structures, and how to pronounce the words as we introduce new words to them. Then through games, our learners, Call 1990 says that through games, learners and teachers' role are changed. Teachers encourages learners to participate actively in learning. As today is that we allow our learners in the classroom to be participatory, to put more effort into the teaching process in the classroom, other than having the traditional method where teachers are the only one talking. So we're going to learn how to help our learners take autonomy in the classroom as we teach them how to learn more vocabulary through games. Next slide. Vocabulary games are activities where people use to learn, which people use to learn new words in an engaging way. Basically, we can use it to improve the vocabularies of our learners. While problem solving is a mental activity of intelligence and it develops thinking, it also helps us to find solution to problems. So when we help our learners to learn new words, find out their meanings, use them in making sentences. So it's important we support our learners as they learn in the classroom to be able to bring up ideas, new words, and more so the ability to think on their own and use these words to create sentences of their own. So you agree with me that words are like the basic way for learners to begin to develop speech and develop writing and also reading, of course. One by one, reading of the words will make them eventually become good readers, writers, and of course, speak English, at least to be able to communicate English with others when they need to. So let's go to the next slide. Now, I'd like to state some of the reasons why we would need to use games to teach vocabulary in our classroom. It will help our learners to acquire new words and their meanings. As we expose our learners to this game, they kind of informally learn new words. At the same time, they get to know the meaning of the words. It also helps them to boost their memory and concentration in the class. Now, as we try to introduce games to them, children basically, they get glued to games, online games that are not of educative purpose. So if we introduce this to them in the class, it will kind of give them concentration to learn new skills as they go through these games we introduce to them in the classroom. Giving them games to learn vocabulary also help them to create new words, to form sentences. It stimulates creativity in our learners. It helps them to form sentences out of the new words they've learned. And of course, they'll be able to use this in their speech, in writing, and also when they read, they'll be able to recognize the meaning of the words in storybooks they come across. They will be able to tell what the meaning of that word is, and they'll be able to understand what they are reading. It also encourages social interaction in the classroom. There are some online games now, people play online. They'll be talking with each other. My children do play that game. As they are playing the game, they'll be talking. So when you bring in this into the classroom, you tend to create collaboration in the classroom. Students collaborate, they work together to improve their vocabularies. They get to learn from one another in the classroom as we introduce these games for them in the classroom. So I can see some expressed from comments. I'll still respond to that. And I believe Steve is helping me to check in to see the questions. Now, but I think, this is my own opinion, that a word that is misspelled will be a word misunderstood and mispronounced. So if we pay close attention to the way we introduce vocabularies to our learners in the classroom, they will be able to spell words well. They will be able to understand the words. And of course, we'll help them to pronounce the words the way they should. So all these are my own thoughts that you've seen in the word. So a word misspelled will be a word misunderstood and mispronounced. So if you have this at the back of your mind, you will want to bring in fun activities into your classroom as you teach your learners how to use games to learn new vocabularies. Next slide. Now, you will agree with me that in recent times, there has been a shift to learner-centered classroom to boost problem-solving skills. You know, when we allow our learners to heavily depend on us to learn new words, they may not be able to develop this skill. But when we give them games in the classroom that will incite their thinking ability, they will begin to learn new words, create new words as they come across them during the game we introduce to them in the classroom. So this game, introducing games to learners in the classroom, will actually help you to help your learners develop problem-solving skills in the classroom. At the same time, they have autonomy of learning these new words as you introduce the game to them in the classroom. Now, you as a teacher, you would act as a moderator in the classroom. You will be a motivator as to engage them in fun activities using vocabulary games in your classroom. So basically, the teacher talk time will reduce and the learner talk time will improve as you introduce these games to your learners in the classroom. So what games have you used in your classroom to teach your learners vocabulary? What games have you used in your classroom? Kahoot, I've used that myself in my classroom to teach literature in English. Beautiful. EduPlay, wow. EducaPlay, wow. Vocab test, tic-tac-toe, wow. Beautiful. Quizlet, charades, maybe singing songs, wow. Crossword, wow, that's wonderful. Beautiful. Did you know one day I used Kahoot in my classroom and I gave it to my learners as homework. I told them that they should meet me online, some of them whose parents can afford the Android phone. And the parents were so happy on the WhatsApp group of the parents because they used their parents' phone. They were happy that I engaged them in such a beautiful game. And of course, the learner of the Kahoot game got something beautiful from me. So these are jumbled words, answer guiding, beautiful, word bingo, word search, miming, flights, water, missing pictures, matching game, word factory, puzzle, wow, crossword. These are beautiful ideas from all of us. So we're going to learn some of the things that you have already shared and maybe more. Snake and ladder. I used to play that game when I was young. Lucky number. Simon Says. That's a very beautiful word game. Wonderful. Wow, spot the difference. Beautiful. Yes, I've seen some of the games I'll be sharing with you online today, and I know many of us will also learn some new things from what is being shared from the chat box. So we are learning together this afternoon. Thank you so much for all your responses. I'm happy that the responses you are giving is so beautiful and it's so interesting. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you are bringing all this up. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Now, these are the vocabulary games I'll be sharing with you this afternoon. Scrabble, Noughts and Crosses, Pictionary, running dictation, whisper sentences, music, A to Z board race, what's the connection and memory gives. But I've seen some of these from what you shared with me, and I'm happy that all of us are on the same page as we are learning together this afternoon. Now let's go to my session proper. Thank you so much, Steve. Scrabble, bringing adventure of creative and critical thinking using arrangement of words with letters on boards. Now, you can bring in a board into the classroom and create a group for learners. I don't know how many students you have in your context. Like in my own context, I have sometimes I have 60, 70 in a class. So I can just use the rows in the classroom to create the group. Where you have a large classroom, you don't need to totally destabilize the classroom. You can just use the rows you have in the class to create group, and you bring in chairs, this Scrabble game into the classroom, then you allow your students to play the game to create words. So when they do this, they get to learn new words and bring up more ideas for their classmates to learn from. So with this game in mind, students tend to think about each letter of the word, helping them to think how to spell the words and bring up new words as they interact in groups. So the best group to come up with a field board of cubes of words that they've created will, of course, get the best mark. Might not necessarily be a mark, maybe a reward. In a younger class, chocolates or maybe some sweets. We'll also do in our lower classes. Also, we can use this game to bring our learners' attention to new words on particular area that we're trying to show them. For example, if you're teaching climate change in the classroom, you can ask them to create words in that line. So not just creating any word, but creating words on the vocabulary development words that you've just taught them in the classroom. Maybe you've taught them about library, you can ask them to create words related to what you've just taught them in the class using the Scrabble. Next. This is another interesting game, noughts and crosses. This is a very simple game that can cut across all contexts. You can draw a box on the board. You can also draw it in a cardboard if you have that luxury. Then you write words in each of the boxes and see if your students can define them. You can use this when you have taught them. For example, I just taught my learners how to on health, vocabularies related to health in the classroom. So I can bring up some of the words that I taught them in the class and write them on a cardboard like this. On a cardboard like this. I hope you can see it on the cardboard like this. So when I write it, just you make a box, 4 boxes like this, then you write different words on it. So you can tell your learners to tell you the meaning of these words. You have taught them how to know or recognize some of these words, and they've come up with some new words. You can bring up some other words that you've not taught them in class, write them on the cardboard in boxes, and tell them to define the words. And also the words can be words that you've given them in the classroom. So you ask them to define the words. They can work in pairs to do this. Students can work in pairs. So you can use this to encourage peer-to-peer work in the classroom to improve interaction among your learners. Next. Pictionary. Here, you can bring in some drama into the classroom. You can bring in some drama. Steve, you're going to help me here. I want you to act out something for my audience to see. So I just want you to act out maybe somebody that is angry at something, you know, that face, that facial expression that will make you look like you're angry. So I want my students to give me that word anger or angry, so that they will know that, oh, this is the, so you can use this one in the context where learners are foreign language and they are beginners. So when you act out words like this, or students act the words out among themselves, they can get to guess, oh, he looks angry. Oh, it's angry. So you can use this in the class and it will be so interesting. So someone can act out a joyful facial expression. Oh, then everyone can say, oh, she's happy. So you can use this in low kindergarten classes, and the students will be so excited to tell you the word that the person is trying to act out. So, Steve, can you act out something that my participants will tell me what you're actually acting out, like in a classroom?
Okay. Sure. Let me just act.
Wow. Okay, can you tell me what Steve is trying to do in the chat box? What's Steve trying to do? Wow, worried, depressed, upset, angry, beautiful, sad, worried, wow, furious, wow. So you can see all the words popping up in the classroom with one expression. So acting out like that can even bring up more words than you can imagine from your learners. So this is a very beautiful game, and I know that your learners, all of them will want to act out. You know, if you say, okay, you, Steve, come out and act out this, others will be raising up their hands. They also want to act out and dish out the words. It will be very interesting. And don't mind the noise in the classroom. It's part of learning. Because when you bring up Pictionary, all the students will want to act out, and all of them will want to respond. And as you are doing this, they are learning new words, and they are learning a lot of things as you are doing that. So this is a very beautiful game that will make your learners to think. And of course, you're also inciting their sense of critical thinking. They're also looking at a person and trying to say, this is what is happening here. So that is a very beautiful way to get your learners to think critically and come up with new words. Thank you so much, Steve, for that beautiful expression on your face. The next slide. Running dictation. You know, I always give my learners this traditional dictation. I don't know if many of us use it. You just get to class after a comprehension passage, you pick up some words from the comprehension passage, then you say number 1, this, number 2, this, number 3, that. You know, I do that a lot in my classroom over the years, but soon I found out that my students are getting bored. So I wanted something new. Then I discovered running dictation. So to make a shift from my traditional way of giving them dictation, I also go into this and use this in the classroom. So here, students will memorize a particular text, not very long, something very short, and dictate it to a partner in the classroom. So you get to have peer-to-peer tasks being facilitated here. So when they do that, the other students will write it down as it is being dictated. So you can actually develop their listening skill. At the same time, you are trying to call their attention to certain words. For example, if you have taught them climate change, you can give them short text with words having some of the words you used during the time you teach them climate change in the classroom. So you can pick different texts from different, maybe from magazines, from newspapers on climate change, then you give them to the students in the classroom. So they tend to memorize this short text and dictate it to their partner. So it encourages reading skill, then listening skill. At the same time, your learners are memorizing text, and so they are improving their problem-solving skill, their thinking skills. You are improving it as you involve them in this running dictation. So we can make a shift from our traditional dictation to this type of dictation in a classroom. Our students will love it. I've tried it myself in my classroom. My students love it. And it's made a lot of difference from my traditional dictation type that I always bring up words from the comprehension passage and dish it out to them in the classroom. So I know you will try this out with your students one or 2 times, and you'll see the beautiful response you get from them and how they'll get to learn new words from that text that you're introducing to them in the classroom. So don't forget, you can bring up text from some of the things you've taught them in the class, short text that they can easily memorize. So this will bring about beautiful interaction in your classroom and making your learners to work together and learn the target language together in the classroom. Can I move to the next slide, Steve? Whisper sentences. Now, students can whisper sentences, having new words on a list to their classmates. Now, they try to infer the meaning of the new words and master how to use them in the classroom. Now, when you want to do this, you can have your students line up in front of the board in the classroom, maybe about 10 of them on a row. So you give them a sentence, and so they whisper the sentences to their classmates. And as they do that, they try to infer the meaning of that sentence that is being whispered. And they pay close attention to the new words in that sentence. Now, this can be done with a comprehension passage or a summary passage you've used in the classroom. You can bring out some sentences from the passage so that students will be using sentences from a passage they are familiar with in the classroom. So this will help your learners to master how to use new words to make sentences on their own. So, and you can also use it another way. Some of your students can come up with sentences about a topic you've taught them in the class and whisper them to their mates. And as they do that, the mates will pay close attention to the meaning, how the word is used in that particular context, so that they'll be able to use such words correctly when they are using them in their speech, in writing, and of course, in their overall communication in English language. Next. Music. I think I saw some of us writing songs in your responses the other time. Of course, music, everybody loves music. So you can bring a popular music into the classroom, like even the national anthem. Like we have a new national anthem in Nigeria. You can bring the national anthem into the classroom and play it. And ask your students to write out some of the words in the national anthem. So the words that you have written down in the national anthem, you give the cards to the students. You don't have to buy an expensive card. You can just get some used paper in your school. Then at the back of the paper, you can write some of these words. So the students will have their words on their hands. So as you are playing the music, when they hear the word they have, that means the students must have read the word he or she has on the cardboard. After reading it, as the music is being played, you can use a very small Bluetooth device like this, connected to your Android phone, and play it in the classroom. The atmosphere will be calm. There'll be no noise. If you don't want the class to be noisy, you can just bring in the music, this method, into your classroom. So as you're playing, the students will have to pay close attention to the lyrics of the words. And as they do that, when they hear the word they have on their own card, they must raise the card up. And of course, you as the facilitator, you pay close attention to the music and to the response of the students as the music is being played in the classroom. So that will help your learners to pay attention to music when they hear it. They are not just going to listen to the rhythm of music, even outside the classroom. They can pay close attention to learning new words from music. Not only from the music you bring into the classroom, they can learn how to get new words from music, not only from books. So this is a very good way to tell your learners that words can also be learned from music. As they listen to different music in their houses, they can, in English, they can pay close attention to the wordings of the music and learn new words and learn how to use the words on their own. So this is a very beautiful game that you can use in your classroom to make your learners, that moment everyone will be calm, everyone will be set and ready to bring up their cards and say, yes, I heard my word. And so you will be paying attention, and that will make your learners know that they can hear what they are saying. They are even developing their listening skill as you use that to bring new words to them. So this is a very beautiful method and game in the classroom that can help your learners not only to acquire new words, but it can also help them to develop their listening skill, not only in the classroom, but also paying close attention to what they hear. Maybe even on the news, you can also bring their attention to that when they hear the news, they should pay close attention to new words that they can use on their own. It's not only in the classroom that learners can learn new words, they can also learn it in other places. So you can bring the attention of our learners to this when we use this type of method in the classroom. Next. Now, A to Z board race. This is another noisy method to teach vocabulary in the classroom. This is a speed and vocabulary game where groups compete to list words from selected category for each letters of the alphabet. So here you create groups in the classroom, and they have to create words from A, B, C to Z on their own. So they must bring up words from each letter of the alphabet. So each group works together to make up words from A to Z. You may decide to ask them to give if you have luxury of time, but in my context, I have only 40 minutes. So you may not be able to ask them to give letters of all the alphabet. You can also ask them to maybe from A to D, from A to Z to G, depending on the luxury of time you have in your classroom. But if you have a lot of time, sometimes I do have double period of English language in my school. So I can do this to help my learners work together in group and come up with words from A to Z. So this, of course, will develop their thinking skill, and they'll be able to, it's like a problem-solving skill for them. Or they work together in groups to solve this problem. And there'll be time, there'll be rules and time to follow as they are doing this, because it's a speed game. So, and it's a race game. So everyone must know that in 15 minutes, this is going to end. In 10 minutes, and it must be 10 minutes. So when you do this, most of your learners will begin to think very fast. You get to help them to think quickly and come up with words from A to Z. So as you do this, your learners will learn new words. They will learn to come up with different ideas. And you can take it a step further by asking them to take it home. Whatever each group has come up with, they can take it home and work on it and write the meaning of these words using their dictionary. And some of us told me in the chat box that we can use dictionary to help our learners develop vocabulary games. So we can also help our learners to use dictionary well by asking them to go home after this A to Z board race, go home, write out the meaning of the words that your group has found out while you were doing the A to Z board race. This is also a very interesting game. I've tried it in my classroom and my learners love it. And it's always very interesting, but don't allow them to use dictionary when you're using this game. But they can use the dictionary after the game. So what you intend to bring about is for them to think very well and come up with new words they've learned over a period of time in your classroom and elsewhere. They bring their ideas together in groups and write it. And the best group, of course, or the fastest group can get a beautiful gift from you or a star for being so fast at coming up with words listed from A to Z. Next. Now we are about it again. What's the connection? Is another game you can use in the class. You can create cards with 4 words related to a topic. I mentioned the other time the a game of the topic, climate change. I have here with me a card. On it, I wrote some words related to climate change. And one of the words is not related to climate change. So you can have a card like this of different words. Then you must write one unrelated word on the card. So when you write one related word on the card, your students should be able to tell you that, wow, this is not the word. This is not part of a word that is related to climate change. Here I have global warming, extreme weather, traffic congestion, sea level rise. So I will expect my learners to be able to tell me which one is the odd word out of this. So you are trying to get the attention to the category of the vocabulary you have introduced to them in the classroom. Beautiful. Somebody just told me the wrong one is the traffic congestion. It has no relation to climate change. So you can come up with something like that in your classroom. So you get your learners to pay close attention to the type of vocabulary development you are teaching in the class at the moment. So all the words that you have studied with them, you can write it down like that on a cardboard. Then you can use that to wrap up your teaching in the class. So you ask them, what's the connection? So they will come up with the unrelated word, and you kind of motivate them to learn more. So this is another game that you can use in your classroom that will make your classroom interesting to the learners. Next. Now, this is about the last game I'll be sharing, a memory game. I saw this in one of the response of my participants at the beginning of the session. Now, memory games are also very interesting. Now, students can be asked to repeat a frame that can be used with different words. For example, you can say, I'm a nurse and a dash for patients. So your students will bring up different words to fill in the gaps. I'm a doctor and I treat patients with dash. So they'll come up with different tools that doctors use in the hospital to treat their patients. So this will help learners to think critically. What other words can I fix into this gap? What other words can I fix into this gap? So, but it is still the same sentence, but they will fill in different words to make the sentence complete. So you as a teacher will serve as a facilitator while they come up with different words of their own to fill the gaps. So if you have just taught them about medical profession in the class, you can ask them to fill in words to make the sentences complete. So you can create different words, different sentences like this for them to work with in the classroom and come up with different words to fill the gaps. So this is also a very interesting game to make your learners learn new words and use different words in different contexts as you may have it. And they can also learn through this that some words in English have different meaning. So you have to pay close attention to contextual usage of words. So here you will see some of them, like I've tried it in class, and some of them will come up with words that will mean you have to correct their error if they are using the word the wrong way contextually. So that will help you to direct them and help your learners to know that English must be used in proper perspective contextually, because a particular word can have more than one meaning in English. So all this will come up when you are using memory game in the classroom to teach your learners. I think we are about rounding up. Next. So here is sushi and word shape. I've played this game myself on the British Council Teens website, and I found it very, very interesting. You will find the link on the reference list, and I think Melissa will also share it with you. You can ask your learners to do this. I've also shared this with my children at home. They love playing sushi and word shake on British Council platform. I, as an adult too, I found it very interesting. I've played the games myself. So you can access these games. You can tell your learners, instead of just going about doing imperfect things on the internet, you can introduce sushi and word shake to them, and they will have fun learning new words on this British Council Teens website. So if they have access to mobile phones, iPad, PC, this can be a very beautiful game. Then if you have it in your school, like in my context, you don't have laptops in the school, but my students do have Android phones. Some of their parents have Android phones. So we should not say that our learners must not use Android phones at all, because our learners have phones and they go TikToking, they go everywhere on the internet. I see them pop up on my Facebook page. So you can introduce this game to them so they can get to learn as they interact on the online platform. So this will help them. The game is very free. It's very free on the BC resources. All BC resources are free for teachers of English language. And I think Melissa and Steve will tell us more about that. So learners can access this for free of charge. So tell your learners to play sushi, word shake, then you can ask them to bring their mobile phone to class. Then everybody brings up their phones and they begin to play sushi or word shake in the classroom. So that will give you some respite. You can be calm as they play the game. Then you get to see who has the highest mark. Because when you play sushi, your marks will be recorded. You will see what you have scored. So you can get to see the best students who have scored the highest score on the platform, on the online game platform. So there are several other online games that we can introduce to our learners. It's very important we direct our students to online games so that they can make good use of their time when they're at home or even when they are in school. So they don't get to do naughty things online, and we tend to protect their digital footprints when they go into things like this as they learn online. So I'm happy that all of you are interested in my games that I've come up with now. That's me, though my hairdo is different, just like Melissa said. That's me sharing a card with my students using What's the Connection. And that's the card I tried to show you while I was doing my presentation. So that's my presentation. So I would like to ask you, which game from today will you use with your learners next to make your class interesting, interactive, and of course, develop problem-solving skills in your learners? Wow, sushi, beautiful. Well, that means you have access to internet in your school and maybe PC. Wow, beautiful. Memory games, online games. Wow, thank you so much. So you're going to try this Pictionary. Wow, I'll so much love it if you try these games in your class, and I assure you that your learners will find your class much more interesting, and they will want to learn more words in English language. And as they learn, they get better. And as they get better, they become better people who can communicate well in English language, because that's our major focus, is to turn our learners to communicators in English language. So please make sure you go to the BC page with your learners to do sushi and word shake. So you can find more vocabulary activities on the British websites, as you see on the screen. So there are lots of free online courses. I've done this before myself, how to teach vocabulary. I've done that because I have the certificate. So if you join, you can earn yourself a certificate on how to teach vocabulary in your classroom. Thank you so much for your audience. I'm happy. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, you can go ahead. I know there are some questions online already. I think, Steve, you are helping me out with that.
So yes, of course. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time. But it was actually very impressive, Ayabo. You've actually shared so much, and we've seen so much engagement as well, both on Zoom but also on YouTube. Sorry, on Facebook. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pick one question from YouTube, from Facebook, and one question from Zoom, and we'll actually wrap up. So there's this one question that's actually quite interesting, from Ellie, from Zoom, and she's asked the same question almost 3 times in using different wording, but the question is actually about learners struggling with actual retention, because in her experience, learners tend to enjoy the game, and they tend to retain what's been learned in class. But after the activity has ended, they tend to forget. So what is maybe one way you can actually sort of help learners retain what they've learned after the activity has ended?
All right. Okay, to sustain the students' participation and continued efforts in learning. I did make mention of assignments in I think in 2 of the games. We can help our learners sustain their interest in this by giving them homework, assignments. So this will help them to go back home and get more words in relation to the games you introduced in the class. So that's the best way to help our learners sustain their interest in what they've done in the classroom. If you just leave it to chance, yes, they may forget, because students, basically young ones, they do forget things easily, but we can sustain their attention through assignments. Not only that, we can also bring it up in the next class as previous knowledge in the classroom. We can get to ask questions about what we've done in the previous class using the game. So they will know that, oh, Miss will ask us this question. So they'll pay attention and they'll try to retain what they've learned when we ask them questions about what we've done in the previous class, and when we give them assignment to sustain their interest in what we've done in the classroom. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, thanks so much. Thanks, Ayabo. So the next and last question is actually from someone from Facebook, and they're asking about some advice about combining 2 or more activities or some of these games together in this during the same class.
Yes, that's it will depend on the type of activity or games you want to combine. For example, I would say you can combine Pictionary, where students act out words in the class. You can combine that with what's the connection. You can combine the 2 in the classroom. When they act out words, then you can bring out some of these words and ask them to tell you the connection between the things that they've acted out and what is far away from what they acted out. So some of it we can put in our innovative ideas and combine some of, but you know that we have a time frame for each of the period in our classes. So we must also consider time before we think of combining the games in our classroom.
Thanks so much, Ayabo. I guess that actually brings us to an end. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was awesome. I've seen some engagement on these webinars, but there was so much engagement today. I'm actually happy to have you here, and I also would like to thank our moderators Mel and Joe on Zoom, and Karen and Marcus on Facebook. We'll be back in 15 minutes or maybe less for our next session, which is all about boosting learner engagement in speaking activities with Inga Divani. So I hope I spelled the last name right. Thanks, Ayabo.
Thank you so
I
much.
wish you a happy weekend, and we hope to see
Steve.
everyone in the next session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve.
Bye. Bye for now.
Bye.